Welcome to the Heartland Running Podcast. Join Crystal, Andy, and Steven as they explore all things running related in the Heartland and beyond.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Steven.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Crystal.
And I don't have a funny intro tonight because tonight we're having a special episode. We say that a lot, but this one's really special. We have partnered up with several other running-related podcasts, namely the Ultra Runner Podcast, Trail Runner Nation, Ultra Podcast, Southeastern Trail Runner Podcast, 10 Junk Miles, East Coast Trail and Ultra, and Endurance Planet Podcast, to bring you what we hope will be an ongoing series of what we're calling, someone do air quotes. Okay, everyone did air quotes. Syncrocast, covering important topics. So what this will be is all of these shows are going to release on the same date, covering the same topic. So with that said, tonight's show is going to be how to make your race day perfect. Now, we also have a special guest co-host to help guide us through this discussion. His name is Eric Whittington. He is an Army veteran of 10 years and is an avid triathlete, cyclist, and runner. He's completed 3 full Ironman races. In addition to those Ironman races, Eric has completed several ultras, including 9 100-mile finishes, with 5 of those being completed this year. Eric is also the co-race director of the 24-hour Eagle Up Ultra, which benefits Team RBW and 23rd Veteran. Now, Eric is fresh off of finishing the 2017 Midwest Super Slam. This includes the Indiana Trail 100, Kettle Moraine 100, Mohican 100, Burning River 100, and the Hallucination 100, all completed within less than 5 months. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Thank you.
That is quite a resume of running, and especially in the last few months. And that last one was probably appropriately named the Hallucination 100 because I know I wouldn't be seeing anything that was actually there after that many ultra marathons.
Yes, it was. It was. I had to make that one the fast one so I could just get it over with.
Now, I think the first question I'd like to ask is, why did you want to do the Super Slam? What was your motivation?
Just to try something harder, something different, something challenging. You know, you start out doing one thing and then it gets to the point where, okay, what's next? And then you do what's next. And then after that, you think, okay, now what's next? So the Super Slam sounded like a good idea to do at the time. So I did it.
Does it still sound like a good idea?
Next, what's next?
Is it still a good idea after you've done it?
So, yeah, it was a good idea. It still hasn't really sunk in all that much. It's, I don't know. I like the long miles. It's medicinal for me. It's not about the bling and all that. I mean, it was cool being able to take on a challenge like that and actually finish it, in decent health. I think that was the biggest thing coming out of this, is making sure that I stayed strong and healthy and didn't hurt myself at my ripe old age.
Oh, did you get any kind of injuries?
Burning River, I had a foot injury. I did something to my Achilles, and it really made me nervous because from Burning River coming into Hallucination, I logged a total of 25 running miles, 7 being the longest. I ended up spending a lot of time on my bike just to keep the blood pumping and keep moving and trying to get some kind of exercise in. And it all worked out good in the end. So,
well, that's always a plus. Now, out of those 5, which one would you say was your toughest?
They were all tough. There was something tough about each and every one of them, to be honest with you. I think the hardest one overall was probably Burning River was hardest for me mentally. It was at that point where, okay, I got to get through this, and we got one more. I'm tired. You know, why did I sign up for this? I've done Burning River 3 times already. Why are we doing this again? And mentally, I just wasn't prepared. I was, pretty busy here at the shop, and my mind wasn't in it. And that's usually my biggest part of prepping for races, is getting my mind in the right place. The other races, I mean, obviously Mohican's very difficult, but it was the heat for Mohican. And then Indiana Trail was very hard just because of the weather. So they all brought a little something different to the table as far as difficulties.
I've got a quick question about, doing so many 100-milers back to back like that. How did the recovery change from going, from your first one to your second one, and then obviously your third, and then, you're building miles and you're putting that on your body? How did your recovery change as you advanced through those 500-mile races?
It got to the point where my entire season was nothing but recovery and taper. So in order to prep for that, I logged a gazillion miles throughout the winter and early spring. Just getting a huge base down because I knew I wasn't going to have time my regular routine of, 10 miles Friday, 30 Saturday, 20 Sunday. I knew that was all going to go out the window. So I had to load up early, and then, between races, it was just a lot of light runs and just a lot more recovery and taper. So I didn't really have a lot of time in between to train like I wanted to anyway. So a lot of eating, a lot of resting. Does that answer that okay?
Yeah. But as you advance through it, so, let's say, for instance, after your first 100 that, maybe it was a week before the dead legs went away. As you advanced through all of those, did it just take longer for, to get your feet back under you?
No, it was pretty much the same after every race. It usually takes a few days and I'm back out running. It still hurts. I still have the dead legs for a week or two, but I'm able to go back out and get at least a few small loops, some 5 and 7 mile loops. And I feel okay. The hardest one was between the two, Kettle Moraine and Mohican, where I only had 2 weeks in between the two. And so obviously I raced, and for 2 weeks I did nothing. And I think the only form of exercise I did then was a 5 mile walk, maybe twice. So I just,
which I'm not
maybe
very
it's the ice
familiar
cream.
With the Midwest Super Slam, and maybe there's quite a few people who listen here that aren't either, and maybe would be interested in kind of learning a little bit more about it. Is this something that there's quite a few people who try to go for this challenge, or is it just kind of a small amount of people that are kind of crazy, looking for something really super hard to do? Is there quite a few people that do this?
There's not a lot of people that do it. No. Last year, I think they had 8 people that actually completed it for the whole season.
Oh, wow.
And this year, I think there was just under 50 people maybe that signed up to give it a try. And I think 3 of us finished the Super Slam and 1 of us finished the Grand Slam.
Wow.
So it's not like you have hundreds and thousands of people. It's a handful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the Grand Slam is 4 out of the 5.
It's the last 4, yeah. It's excluding Indiana Trail.
Wow, that's a lot of running.
It was a lot of fun, though, and a lot of music and a ton of ice cream.
Do it for the ice cream.
The true sign of a 100-miler.
Secret weapon.
Is there a particular flavor that is better for recovery?
All of them? I don't know. Well, I like to say pistachio almond just because it's got the almonds, and that helps justify the health aspect of that. But I think everybody listening knows that's a bunch of BS. So, yeah, I like it all.
Hey,
nope, that works for me. So,
hey, Andy, I'm seeing
it's working so far.
I'm seeing a new product for your business: recovery ice creams.
Recovery ice cream.
Yes.
Cream.
That sounds amazing.
Oh my God, I would buy it.
See if I can incorporate bacon into it some way. I'm sure I can.
Yes.
Yeah, oh my gosh, maple bacon ice cream. I think that would be the best flavor in the world.
Bacon, macadamia, caramel swirl ice cream. I can do it.
All right, let's just shut this show down and get on this right now.
I'll get to the production.
I actually have a local business here in town called Peace, Love, and Little Donut. And they sponsor my race every year. And her name is Franny. She actually sponsors me. So I have a little patch on my shorts. And before every race, she gives me like 5 dozen donuts, and half of them are maple bacon, and they are just amazing. Oh, so yeah.
Finally,
secret weapon.
I've seen pictures of the donuts on Facebook, and it's one of those ones you want to lick the screen when you see them.
I just want to say how proud I am of everybody, because we're only like 5 minutes into the show and we're already talking about important things.
Food.
You guys are doing me proud. Now, I read that you're wanting to do the Barkleys.
Yes. I was actually supposed to go and do the mini Barkley this upcoming weekend.
Okay, the Fall Classic.
And, yeah, I bowed out of it last week. My younger brother had a stroke, and he lives out in Phoenix or Scottsdale, Arizona. And I wanted to make sure that I was around just in case I needed to take off. And I think plus being a little beat up, I thought that was the wise thing to do. But I'd love to try the big one sometime. But we all know that's a long shot. It's not an easy race. I've got a bigger race next year that I got to start focusing on now. So
I did see what you have planned for next year. Go ahead and share that with us.
My friend JT that works here at the shop with me and myself, we registered for the Infinitus 888K up in Vermont, and it's 500 and something miles with a 240-hour time limit.
Wow!
So I'm going to give that a whirl. Only 3 people have ever finished it, so of course I had to register right away and try it. 'Cause I'm stupid like that. All these things I want to do before I hit 50. That was one of them. Run 500 miles.
Okay, and I must tell my co-host Crystal something I've been saying a lot lately. No, we're not doing that one.
No, remember, it's never no. It's not on your radar at this point, or you're not interested in this at this point. But we never say never.
Or just say I'll think about it. That makes you look pretty cool too.
Oh, okay. Hey, we'll have to talk about that one later. Okay.
Okay.
So before we kind of get into some of the other stuff, can you tell us quickly about the 24-hour Eagle Up race that you direct? Because I think I was hoping to do it this summer, but it didn't work out. But it sounds really, really cool. So if you can kind of give us some of the highlights of that race.
Okay. Last March, me and one of my friends decided we wanted to have a 24-hour race. I run one here in Northeast Ohio called 024, Outrun 24. And it's a 1-mile loop, and it is so fun. I know it drives a lot of people crazy, but it is just the camaraderie, the people, the interaction with the runners nonstop. It was an amazing event. And leading into this, I'm part of Team Red, White, and Blue. So we have a lot of veterans that are kind of new to running and biking and swimming and everything. And over the years, I've been working with some of them in their running and amazing runners. But we wanted to come up with a 24-hour that would be enticing to people that want to hit that ultra distance, but are unable to do it within the required time limit, because a lot of them are 7, 8, 9 hours. So we thought we would do a 24-hour loop or a race. It's on a 5-mile loop right here in Canal Fulton. And it was amazing. We opened up registration in March, and for our first event, we had 192 people, I believe. And we only had one person hit a 100-miler. And this year we had about 380, I think, a little over 380 people, several 100-milers. And we added a 50-50 where you run 50 mile, then a 50K. But it's just it's just a fun event. I mean, everybody camps out in the whole entire park, and music and pizza, and I have Domino's sponsor that too. So I got connections in the food world.
And I think
if I had to stand there in the aid station all day, I'm going to be eating too. I may not be running, but dang it, I'm going to be eating good for 24 hours.
Yeah, and I heard something about grilled cheese and pickle.
The what?
The grilled cheese and pickle.
Yes. We have there's a bar right next to us called the Canal Boat Lounge, and they host the pre-race party for us, for all the runners from out of town, and they do a great job. But they were also doing the cooking for us, and they were experimenting and bringing down grilled cheese with pickles and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I mean, it was, I think, 8 picnic tables filled with all the food you could possibly imagine. So luckily we still had money left over to give back to all the donations to the charities, and we put a lot of money into the food. But we donate the money to Team Red, White, and Blue, and like you said, the 23rd veteran. It's
well, tell us about
organizations.
Tell us about Team Red, White, and Blue. What is that? What's it all about?
Team RWB is a worldwide organization They've got a little over 100,000 members here in the U.S. Our chapter alone, Cleveland through Akron, is just over 1,000 people. And it's about half military veterans and half civilians. And the whole idea was to get the civilians to help with the veterans that may have PTSD through physical fitness, community service events. So you get a handful of veterans that, they won't leave their house, or, they just, they don't want to talk to people, or they don't want to do anything. And they found through the physical fitness and the camaraderie, the runs, the swims, and the weekly events, it's really made a huge impact on them. So that's kind of what we do.
Oh, that's outstanding. And there's a website and everything, I take it, that we can link to if people want more information.
TeamRWB.org.
All right. Fantastic. That sounds like a great organization. Well, I think it's nobody can deny that you have done your fair share of racing, and you've got a couple miles under your feet, maybe. So let's let's dig right into the topic, and we need to air quote this again: how to make your race day perfect. Don't know if you can actually do that. But that is the topic that was that was the topic that was brought up. So I'm going to throw a question out, and everyone can kind of go around and give their answer. We'll start with you, Eric. Do you have any pre-race traditions, whether they're practical or superstitious, that must be done in order to have a great race?
Well, the first thing I do is I take all my shirts that I'm wearing, if it's cold weather, and I have to turn them all inside out. And I run with them inside out. It's hysterical listening to the people who yell at me on the course, "Hey, your shirt's inside out. Hey, there's a tag sticking out. Hey, let me fix that for you." So that's my one superstition. And
is that to appease running gods or something, or?
Yeah, baby trail running Buddha. Yeah, he likes that.
Okay. Well, that's important.
Okay, that was a joke. Anyway, so that's just my one goofy superstition. I think the biggest thing for me really is just the week before the race. I clam up. I get very withdrawn and just kind of mentally put myself where I need to be. I think that's the most important thing to get me through a race is the mental prep of just, this is what I got to do, no matter how much I'm feeling crappy or hungry or whatever. And I just take that whole week and withdraw from everybody and just kind of focus on what needs to be done so that I can enjoy the race without getting all panic mode out there.
Okay. Are you the type of person that you have to have all your gear precisely laid out the night before and everything's packed the week before? Crystal, and
I'm the guy that packs 5 minutes before I leave, and I'm usually at Walmart buying shit before the race.
Amen, brother. You do it right.
I forgot my handhelds this weekend for Hallucination. I bought a Keurig coffee maker so that they could brew me coffee in the car, my crew, and I left that here, so I had to buy another one up in Walmart in Michigan. I just open up my race bucket and I just throw a bunch of stuff in and go. A couple of shirts, couple of warm things, cold things, socks, but as long as I got my bear butter, we're all golden. That's the only thing I really gotta. That's my stuff.
Excellent, Crystal.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have a whole lot of pre-race traditions. I do have some superstitions where I feel like certain clothes have certain magical powers. So if I've had certain outfits, which I have, that I've had bad training runs in, they're nixed. So I have my lucky shirt. Luckily, the Heartland shirt happens to be one of my lucky shirts. I'm not so sure about this past weekend, but so I have certain things that I have to have. And yeah, I know you kind of called me out on that. I do like to have everything really organized. And I actually have checklists, especially from traveling or doing the longer races, of everything, and I go through and I check it off as I pack it. Then I double check and I highlight.
That's disgusting.
No, Andy's with me on that.
I was going to say, I bet you Andy's with you. Maggie disagrees too. No, Maggie agrees with me.
She is angry about something. Sorry about that.
That's fine. Maggie's part of the show. So what else, Crystal?
So pre-race, that's about it. I don't have any like real set things.
Okay. Brother Andy?
Okay, well, for myself, I always have to, and this is if it's like a bigger race or like a PR race or something that I'm really focusing on, then, you know, obviously I'm laying the flat Andy out with absolutely everything that I have to have ready to go. I'm going to check my weather app 10,000 times because I want to know the exact degree so I can have the exact clothing that I need, because I'm really picky about that. The day before, I always get a big giant burrito. That is my pre-race meal. So we're I prefer Qdoba, but if you don't have one of those or know what that is, it's like a Chipotle. And so I have to have one of those big, you know, a big burrito that's the size of a toaster. And so that's just my pre-race meal, and it works good for me. And then if it's a big race, I always write Psalm 26:2 on the back of my bib. And that's just, that reads, "Test me, Lord, and try me, examine my heart and my mind." And it's just kind of like my mantra and my, you know, motivation. And so I always put that on before a marathon. That's pretty much it. If it's just a race that I'm just doing for fun, then yeah, I'm throwing some clothes on right before I walk out the door, and it's not a big deal. So it just depends on, you know, how big that race is for me.
Okay.
You know what? I really like the idea of writing something on the back of your bib, like some kind of motivational thing. I like that idea. I've never thought of that before.
Yeah. And you know, I think that, you know, maybe 20, 30 years from now, when, you know, I'm flipping through those old bibs, because after the race, on the front of the bib, I always write my time, my pace, and all that information. So that way I never lose that. I've got a permanent record of it. And so, you know, someday I might just go flipping through those just to see, you know, what I have. And then I'll just see, you know, this is what I was feeling at that time. This was the motivation that I felt like I needed then. And so that's why I write that on the bib, on the backside.
That's cool.
Well, I am glad to hear there is at least one other sane person on this podcast tonight, and that is Brother Eric. He is right on with you. Throw your crap in the bag 5 minutes beforehand and hope you grabbed everything, because that way it stays interesting.
Yeah, it's part of the game.
I'm telling you, you know, you got to keep it out there. I almost always try to have something new for race day, just because I like to be different than anybody else. So, you know, and Crystal adopted that strategy this past weekend, and it worked out great for her. So that's always a thing, something new, even if it's like a new pair of socks I've never run in. Just something has to be new. I guess I want to be a bride someday, but
something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue.
Yes, exactly. But and plus I have to have that kind of like Andy. I don't do the burrito. I don't have a specific meal, but it has to be something that you probably should not eat right before a race. I'd have to have just something like 5 Big Macs, whatever, something very unhealthy the night before, just to strain my digestive system. So it's ready for the long haul, because, you know, I like to have my digestive tract just shut down for the race. And that right there is a free tip for all of you. Just clog your pipes and you don't have to worry about it.
It's a block of cheese for dinner.
It's a block of cheese for dinner. Now, of course, about what time did we leave Sunday? About 10 hours after you leave, you're going to pay for it, but it worked great for the race. But anyways, those are just some of the goofy stuff. Now, more seriously, for that pre-race stuff, I'm assuming everyone here is pretty much a stickler to their training plan, because proper training obviously gets you through a race. So does anybody ever fudge on their plan a little bit, or are we all kind of anal that way?
I fudge on it all the time. Not gonna lie.
Do you create your own plan, Eric, or are you coached at all? How do you do it?
No, I just do my own thing. I had one of my good friends, Julia. We ran Burning River side by side the last 2 years in a row, and we've probably logged more miles together than any other person I ran with. And when I first started running, she was one of them that gave me an idea of what I need to be doing to get through my first 100-miler. And I kind of took what she had as a plan and kind of adapted it into my own. Because, I try to do maybe one Ironman a year and some different things as well. So I'm kind of across the board. And there's just some days where I don't feel like doing it, I'll go swim. Or some days I don't feel like swimming, I'll go, bike. It's as long as I'm doing something. But yeah, I fudge it a lot.
Yeah, but all that
30 miles, I'll definitely do 28.63 just to piss everybody off. I am not one to run in circles to hit the even number. If I don't stop on an odd, I keep going until it's an odd number.
I like that. Yeah. I need to try that.
Yeah.
Because I've always
it's different,
Yeah. I've always been the person that would just run a little more to round up, but I might have to try that now.
Yeah. My Strava looks like pie. I mean, there's nothing. It just goes on forever.
I can't.
And then all the OCD people around are like, Eric, just run the extra.
Yeah. When people run with me, it drives them crazy because we have a loop that I say is 5 miles. It's 4.96. So when I stop, they keep going, and I'll just stand there. I'll sit there in the grass and wait for them because they have to hit their 5 miles. They'll be like, "Well, why didn't you get that? You got to hit your 5." I'm like, "That's not going to make me any faster at my next race. It's okay. This rest is just as good." That's my philosophy.
And I think that is an excellent point. Getting the right amount of rest. That it's not all about how much you run and how fast you run, Andy. And
that's probably why I'm so dang slow. I am not the fastest runner in the bunch by any means, but you're right on that. I think rest is just as important as the training itself. It's huge.
Now, I will say that's something I usually do during a long training cycle is I will take a bit of a mini break, maybe about halfway through. I mean, not a week off, but I might take 2 or 3 back-to-back days off just to recover a little more, getting a little older. Things don't heal up as fast. So, a lot of times I will take a mini break. And I think it's helped, I think. At least I'm telling myself it helps because I like doing that. And so.
Whatever you got to do to justify it.
Exactly. I'll justify anything.
So
that's why I don't open the bike shop until 10 because, I have to sleep until 8:30 or 9 because, rest is important. That's how I justify that.
That's perfect. You didn't tell me how cool Eric was.
I know. Hey, you know what? I got everything all figured out. If you ever need anything, just give me a call.
You can justify it?
I can justify everything. Trust me.
Nice.
My son's sitting here next to me, is giving me the evil eye. Like, I don't think so, Dad.
Crystal?
So what about you, Stephen? Do you fudge?
Excuse me?
Oh, she was asking me if I fudge my schedule. The only thing I really, I'm not counting if you get injured or something. The only thing I usually fudge is maybe the day. So if you have a 10-mile something run on Wednesday, but Thursday's a rest day, sometimes I'll flip those just because whatever, I overslept or we got some stupid podcast to do or something like that. So that's about my only real fudging. And my mini break, now that we have I have a coach that I've told him I like to do this little mini break, and he's like, sounds like a plan. So I'm not fudging there either. So that's my big fudge. And, weather, if the weather's lightening out, I'll cut the run short. Now, I guess the only other place I will fudge, and I think this is important too for race day prep, is like a lot of people, I'm very limited on time when I can do any type of strength training. So sometimes I will cut a run a little short in order to have time to get that done, because I think that's as important to get some of that done. And sometimes I just don't do it at all. So, Andy.
So, but if it's not on your schedule, then you don't fudge it. So right. I just don't put on my schedule.
Yeah. Andy, do we even need to ask if you ever fudge your schedule?
Andy does not fudge. No
okay.
way.
So I am OCD with an asterisk. And so we'll start with the OCD part that if I don't get my prescribed run in that day, I'm going to stress about it and have trouble sleeping. I mean, it's just, I that's the plan. I have to get it in. I am coached. And so I have a coach that expects me to get those things done. And I want to get them done because I'm the guy that's going to be at mile 18 in a marathon where things start to suck. And I'm going to look back at that run that I did not do very well 4 months ago.
And that was the reason.
This is why, this is why I'm not doing well right now. So anyway, for that mental preparation for a race, I feel that it's very, very important to me to make sure that I'm hitting all my paces, I'm hitting all my miles, and I'm doing them when I need to be doing, when they're prescribed. Now, the asterisks. I am a halfway intelligent human being, and I know that if I am hurt or if things aren't working right for me, then I know that I either need to back off or I do need to take a day off. And I will do that if I need to. Or also, I have a family and I have children, and whenever I just can't make it happen because I have responsibilities with them, that always takes priority over getting my run. And I never feel bad about those. But if I don't have an excuse, if I can get up earlier, if I can stay up later, or there's time in my day where I can make that run or speed work or hill session or whatever happen, it's going to happen. So anyway, that's my OCD.
Okay, well, let me bring this up because I think this might, for me anyways, and you guys can tell me if you agree or disagree, this might be the number one thing to having the perfect race day. Even if something goes wrong, is your mental attitude. And Eric, I definitely want to get your input on this because you've done a ton of long distances in a short amount of time. That how do you, I know you said you kind of zone out that week before, but what other suggestions does anyone have for having that right attitude going into a race? I've even said before, I generally going into a race just have a whatever happens because I can't do anything more to prepare for it. So let it, just what will be. And, like Andy said, he'll get at mile 18 and think, I've missed that run 4 months ago. That's why this sucks. Does anybody have suggestions on how people can maybe relax a little bit?
Well, now, first of all, rational Andy knows that that's completely, nonsense. But it's just the mental things that bug me whenever I want to make sure that I've completed my entire training. So anyway, that's just me interjecting real quickly.
Okay, that was the half intelligent part, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, Eric, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about that because I know doing all those ultras, it's, probably at least 60% mental.
I think it's more than that, especially if you're really mentally challenged like myself. I think everybody races for different reasons and expects different speeds, different times for whatever their distance is. I go into these races basically just to finish. I'm okay with the 29 and a half hour, 29:58. I mean, that would suck, but if I finished under the 30 hours, I'm okay with that. And as far as the mental part of it, if I accept that if things are going to go wrong, it's going to hurt, but I have to just keep going regardless. And after you do it so many times, you just know, okay, this is going to go away. It's only going to hurt for an hour or two or 20 more miles. And it just, I don't know. I don't want to use the word habit, but it gets easier. If I ever do try to do something quick or fast like this last one, I think the situation's going to dictate, the first half of the race, whether or not I'm going to PR it or I'm going to run it fast or I'm going to have a good race as far as speed wise and time wise. So I just mentally go into every race knowing that I have to accept whatever's thrown at me. I'm going to finish regardless, but I got to accept that ahead of time. So I don't put too high of expectations on myself other than just finishing, getting the job done.
Okay. Because I know Crystal and I just did a race, and we won't get into the details. We'll do a recap episode a little later on it, but I really, really enjoyed that race. I might have had a little bit of trail crabbiness at one point, but it was just for a few minutes. And don't you say it was any longer, Crystal. But seconds. But again, really, really enjoyed the experience, and our time was, what's the word I'm looking for?
Sucked.
It beyond sucked. It sucks. It sucked. The stuff suck won't suck. Okay, that's how bad it sucked. But it was a really enjoyable experience, and I would do it again tomorrow, except for those two or 3 seconds. So I just think that I think that's the important thing you have to go into the race with is, yes, you have time goals you want to meet. You have all these goals, but you have to be prepared and accept that you may not hit those and to be okay with that. And I think that's going to determine whether you have a good race, because we've all had those races where you didn't care, you're just racing it, and they were the best races ever. And I've even hit some PRs on those races where I'm like, I just don't care what I do. I'm here to have fun. So I think maybe that boils it down.
I've had 28-hour finishes that were a lot more enjoyable than 26-hour finishes.
Oh, I can imagine.
You're out there. It was sucking for 3 hours longer, but it was, it was enjoyable. A beautiful course. You might have a good group of people that you're playing leapfrog with all day, and it's just, those are fun too.
Oh, definitely. Now, another area I think that leads in, because to me, when you say it was a great race, it was a perfect race, it's how you remember it. So it's not all just what actually happened during the race, but it's how you remember it. So maybe we should talk about good ways to recover from a race, because if you spend a week just hurting from a race, it was not a fun race. If it's a day or two, okay, that's to be expected. But if you're just like, oh, I don't ever want to run again, I was down for a week. So what are everyone's maybe not so well known recovery tips? And we know about the ice cream.
Recovery. You know what my great recovery thing is?
What's that?
Grocery shopping.
You go, girl.
Yeah.
Wow.
Go.
I'm not kidding.
Edgy.
So what?
Doing laps in the freezer section.
Start pulling off in the freezer section. I've got my legs up.
Ma'am, get your ass off the turkey, please.
Feels good. No, I'm serious. After a long race, depending on how long it is. So if it's something like we just did where we were out there for 17 hours, I'm not going grocery shopping after that, but I'd like to go the next day. But I like it because one of the little known facts about me is as crazy as it sounds, I love grocery shopping. And when I go into a grocery store, I'm in there for like days. People hate grocery shopping with me, but I like it because I'm moving, I'm doing something productive. It's a lot of walking. I'll park my car down further. So I feel like it's that being productive and still moving. And I find as long as I keep moving, I always feel so much better the next day than if I just like completely sit. Now,
do you find certain aisles are more productive than other aisles of the grocery store?
If it's post-race, the junk food.
The junk food? Okay. I understand that one.
But yes, I like to grocery shop after a race.
Mr. Andy?
I am a huge fan, and I'm just going to reiterate exactly what Crystal said, is just keep moving. And I always like to, my family always come to races with me whenever we go and do a hard race. And we always have something planned afterwards. Some of my worst experiences have been, to go straight to the hotel or go straight home and then just go and lay down and go to sleep. I mean, that's just like the absolute worst thing that you can do. And I feel worse after that than I do, any other time where the family were on a runcation and we go do something afterwards. We're walking around town. We're seeing the sights and doing things. And I recover so much faster from that. I don't, usually it's really hard to do a lot of foam rolling or all that stretching and all that stuff like that. But just keep walking around and go see the sights and do stuff and experience some things, and you will feel so much better the next day. And generally, I take a day off the next day, and then I'm back on a light recovery run, the 2 days later, and good to go.
Now, do you find that that gives you a better memory of that race when you do that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because you're just not so sore for so long afterwards that it just gives you a sour taste in your mouth that, oh wow, this course was hard or rough on me. Well, no, maybe it really wasn't. Maybe you just didn't take care of yourself good enough afterwards.
Now, Eric, besides ice cream, do you have a secret recovery formula?
No, I agree with everything that he said. I just start moving right away. The day after the race, I'll go out and I do my customary 4-mile walk on the trail. I just think about the race and what could I have done to make this better, or why was I feeling like this then? And it gives me a chance to unwind and stretch out and just think about the whole experience.
Okay. And what you should not do,
keep moving from there.
What you should not do that I find myself doing a lot is running a whole bunch of miles and then driving for hours and hours back home.
Oh, that's the worst.
That just, your legs love you for that. Yes, they get a special feeling.
Yeah, no, I bring a crew with me. I make them drive. I pay for their food. They kill me in my food bill for the races, but it's worth it.
And he mentioned something. I think that's another part that's really underrated is kind of even if you don't have a crew going with you, but just having a community around you. Because I think over the years when I've looked at when I originally first got into ultras, several years ago, and I had some kind of, okay attempts and then, a failed 100-mile attempt and just some other stuff. And I realized kind of what's different then to now is just really the community that I have around me. And I'd heard that before, especially the longer you go, how important that kind of race family is, that ultra family is. And I really think that it does make all the difference. That had to have been huge for you, having that kind of support to do, 5 100s within 5 months.
Well, I had pretty much the same crew and pacers for the whole thing. And they were all people that I've been friends with and ran in the past and worked with in the past. And my crew chief, Deb, she just orchestrates everything just flawlessly. It's amazing.
And they're still your friends?
Yeah, she's a friend of mine. She actually was at my race a couple of years ago, the Eagle Up race. And my 12-year-old son, Jake, that was going to be his first ultra ever. And Deb Meeks, who is my crew chief, she was running the 100K. And before the race, Jake went up to her and said, "Hey, will you run with me?" And she dropped down from the 100K and ran every step of the way with Jake and took care of him the whole way. Because I was making him do it on his own, wasn't going to help him. I'm a bad daddy. And we became really good friends after that. And, she just was there to crew and help. And so it's nice having that person, as forgetful as I am, having that person there that's not forgetful, that has got everything covered for you. So that makes a huge difference. And like you guys said, the camaraderie. I mean, just not only the people on the trails, but just having your crew and your friends, and having my son out there for every single race and pacing me for every single race. That was probably my favorite part. That was another reason I couldn't fail, because I had to get to the end so he can come out and run the last 10 to 15 with me.
That's definitely good motivation.
Yeah, very good motivation.
Now, the last thing I have, in pretty much any race, I don't care if it's a 5K or a 100-miler, the suck is going to come at some point. How do you pull yourself out of the suck so you have a much better race experience? And I'm going to go first on this one. If it's the middle of the night and the suck has set in, you just need to look for a nice moon. If there's a beautiful moon up in the sky, that'll put you right back into the right frame of mind.
And so now this is a little bit of teaser for the next episode that that'll be the race recap, and you can find all about the lovely moon when the suck comes.
When the suck comes.
To be honest, though, I've said many times I run alone 99% of the time. And finally, I've run with Andy before. Well, I've run with both Andy and Crystal several times, but this latest race I ran with Crystal. And having someone with you that has a positive attitude will pull you out of the suck really, really quick. So again, that goes back to the community surroundings. The other thing I do is just slow down. Even if you slow down to a walk, you'll unsuck pretty quick. Does anybody else have some unsuck advice?
Yeah, I think for me, it's that staying positive. So when I go into a race, one, it's accepting it. At some point it's going to suck. There's just, and I don't care what distance it is, it's going to suck at some point. And the longer you go, probably the more it's going to suck. But it's also knowing that the suck doesn't last forever. And so you just kind of keep going. But I always try and smile no matter what. Even if it's the biggest, fakest smile, it's still plastered on, especially coming through the aid stations. And then I make kind of when I go in, I make a pact with myself that I will not complain. Complaints will not come out of my mouth. And if I ever catch myself, I reel it back in, but there's absolutely no complaining. And I don't know, I think it makes a difference.
Okay, well, I absolutely refuse to fake smile. Can't do it. Okay, so there's two. Stephen brought up something that was really interesting that gives kind of two aspects to this question, is that, when things suck for you and then when things suck for others. And a lot of times I'll talk about when things get bad for me, that, I really do a lot of internal reflection and just think about myself, think about my life, my kids, my wife, and, all the good things that are in my life, and, try to distract myself that way. Usually things don't get bad until you're getting towards the end of the race. And that's a good thing, because that way you can kind of think to yourself that I have 6 more miles to go. I have run the 6-mile route 1,000,000 times around my house. And so I know that, okay, I've got 5 more miles left. This is where I would be in that place that I've run that run 1,000,000 times. I have 3 more miles left to go. This is associated with this place on that run. And I try to mentally detach myself from that. I also like to, whenever things start to get hard, then I like to imagine myself half a mile ahead. It's in the race, and half a mile ahead. This is how I'm going to feel good, and I'm going to feel strong, and I mentally visualize that. So I've taken myself out of present Andy, and I put myself into future Andy, and then that kind of gets me disassociated with what's going on in my mind. And sometimes that's not half a mile ahead. Sometimes that just might be, a block ahead. That I'm visualizing myself a block ahead, that I'm going to be strong and I'm going to feel good at that point. And then eventually things do get better. Because you have low points. For some reason in a marathon, mile 16 is terrible for me, but mile 22 is just not that bad. So those visualization exercises that I use to try to disassociate just makes all the difference in the world. I'm in a running group that we're on and off throughout the year, and I tend to be one of the stronger runners in that group. And sometimes whenever we're in a run, I can see those people who are going through those hard times in the run, and we really want to keep them going and keep them strong. And a lot of times it's just random conversation that I can have with them, to where if I'm feeling strong and I'm talking clearly and I'm talking easily, even though that might be something that's really hard for me to do, if I can do that for someone else, then it takes their mind off of how bad things are feeling for them at that time. And then they're like, he's strong. I want to be strong. We're going to be strong together. And, so that's kind of like what Stephen talked about having that other be a positive influence on you. That's a lot like what Crystal talked about earlier, about that community, to where, we're all helping each other out whenever we're struggling. And so when it comes to that attitude, having that positive outlook when things get hard, but you're wanting to press through, those are the aspects that are just incredibly important to me.
Good advice. Mr. Eric, do you have an anti-suck remedy?
Yeah, I just briefly stop for a second and think back about, how things were back in the day. And I just tell myself, look, dummy, you should be dead right now, but yet here you stand. Keep going. So I do. Usually it's that quick. It's a quick reminder that I'm fortunate and I should be grateful for where I stand. That's enough.
That's a good point. There's lots of people out there that would love to be out doing what we're doing, but they just cannot do it.
Exactly.
So that will definitely make your experience a lot better. Do you know what else will give you a perfect race day, guys? There's two things. There's two things. Some sword endurance drink and some sword energy.
Oh man, that sword energy is the bomb.
It is awesome now. First batch we got didn't little on the taste. They've got it all worked out now. It's really good. So if you want to try it, you can head over to drinksword.com and use code HeartlandRunner to save yourself 20%. And that was our...
And there's one other thing that you forgot too.
What's that?
One other factor that can...
oh my God, the most important. The most important.
The most important thing is to make sure that while you're running, you have the Heartland Running podcast in your earbuds.
That's true. But there's
a 56% chance of increasing your PR by listening to the Heartland Running podcast in your next race.
Okay.
But there's an 85% chance I just made that up.
Well, 86.7% of all statistics are made up on the spot. But there's one more thing.
If it's this podcast, chances are we'll all stop and just start eating ice cream at the age. So I don't know. Maybe other podcasts.
Our maple bacon ice cream.
Yes. And,
okay, Eric, I don't know if you're aware of this. There is something else. So, okay, what was the PR increase chance, Andy?
56%, I believe. I'm going to have to look back through the research.
56. But, and if you're using... I think that's if you're using sword endurance drink and sword energy, that's probably good for another 30%?
I think you're up over 100%.
Well, hang on.
You don't even have to show up and you get a PR if you use sword.
But there's something else, too. Now, this is rare and hard to find. But if you can get a hold of a cloud meat stick, instant PR.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Eric, we got to get you some of these. They're awesome.
Yeah, set them up, man. I'll try anything.
And he's like, I can't make this many.
He's like, you have any maple flavored meat sticks?
That's a good idea. I don't, but that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an awesome idea. Well, guys, does anybody have anything to add to how to make your race day go, air quote, perfect?
Sign up for a race.
Definitely sign up for a race and treat it for what it is, a fun adventure.
Find a partner that sucker into go into all your crazy things with you.
They all hate me now. I don't have any friends left.
I'm down to one, so it's okay.
Well, Eric, I'm going to have to... Where'd you say your race is held at?
It's in Canal Fulton, Ohio.
That's up in the...
We're right out. Actually, we're just a few miles down the street from the Akron-Canton Airport. So
yeah,
people flying in, it's pretty convenient.
I was going to say, my hometown is Cuyahoga Falls, so...
So is mine.
All right. West Bath Road, man. Represent.
Yeah. Okay. I grew up over on 24th. I graduated in 89.
I graduated in 89, but I was in Florida then, so...
Okay. So we were almost twins.
We were almost twins, yeah. We'll get different uncles. Well, does anybody have anything else before I wrap this up?
I'm good.
You good? Crystal?
Good.
Eric's good? Crystal's good? Okay. Andy, just a couple weeks left till the big Chicago.
I know. One more week and I get to taper. I'm so ready to taper. Oh my gosh.
Okay, you are not allowed to record with us until after Chicago. Because we know you're
like a ball of energy.
You'll be PMSing, pre-marathon syndrome, so... But can people reach out to you socially if they'd like to meet up for a cold beverage or something in Chicago, a Coke or a water or something?
Yeah. If you want to,
he's like, I don't know.
I was thinking about the next thing I was going to say, which was nothing at all. If you want to find me on Facebook or you want to reach out to me on the Heartland Running Facebook page, which we'll go ahead and talk about that. That's a pretty exciting place. We've got lots of fun stuff that's going on there. I don't think the last episode we talked about this, but this time we will. We're going to be closing it down once we reach a certain number of people so we can keep it a nice, close, intimate group. And so get joined into that if you're not a part of it. But yeah, that's probably the best place to reach me right there. I guess you can search me out on email, which is ancloud@hotmail.com. Or if you want to send some smoke signals, I'll probably see them from wherever you are.
Okay, just use Andy at heartlandrunning.com because Hotmail just makes you sound like a creep nowadays, man.
At AOL.
Yeah.
But if anybody meets up with Andy for a cold beverage, you have to be buying because it'll be Andy's birthday. So
that's right.
It is my 40th birthday.
That's right. So
it'll be a good time.
Sounds great. Mr. Eric, if people want to stalk you on the internet, where should they go?
Facebook's fine.
Facebook's fine. So just type in stalk Eric
and you're out on Strava too. If we want to follow your madness, is that?
No, I was joking about Strava. I don't record anything. No? Yeah, I just no.
Wow, that's
once my run's over, I just delete it from my watch and.
So you're
I'm done.
You know what? Eric's kind of like the Grateful Dead of running, because they always said, "Hey, once we play the music, it's open, it's out there for everybody." So he's, man, that's pretty.
Yeah, I don't know. That's never been. I don't know. I know I ran it. That's good enough. I don't know. I'm just so computer illiterate. It's just one more thing I don't want to have to learn how to do. I hit start and stop, and that's good. An erase.
So do you have paper logs?
Do I have what?
Do you have like paper logs or any type of log?
I just bought one of those new Suunto Ambit watches, and I download it because you have to, or it gets filled up with clutter on it's called movescount.com.
Okay.
So if you go on to Movescount, you could actually look at people's profiles of what they run, ride, swim, yada, 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 whatever they download. So, I got my stuff on there, but again, it's my medicine. So I just go.
I love his attitude.
That's kind of cool.
Miss Crystal, where are we going to be next?
Up next, we are going to be at the Bourbon Chase with Team Sword. We're doing the ultra version. So instead of a team of 12, we're going to be doing it with a team of 6. And while we're out there, we're going to be celebrating Steven's birthday. So we have all the October babies in the house.
Dang right. We rule. Okay. And that's October, 13th?
13th. It starts on Friday the 13th.
That's right. So that's lucky. So I have to buy something new to use for that. Well, I don't have anything else. If everyone else is good to go. And we'd just like
thank you guys for asking me. It was an honor.
Oh, it was
I appreciate
awesome having you on here. Before we do go, we'd like to give a shout out to the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. They are kind enough to let us use their music in the show. And, the only call to action I'm going to give everyone is if you like the show, please just tell a friend. Well, until next time, we want to thank everyone for sticking us in your ears. I'm Steven.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Crystal.
And we'll talk to you soon.